This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. Believe it!
It's time. Talk time. Let's go. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Live. Started in the 80s with Matt Cross. Dudes in the hood might have called that soft, but I carried that cross like Jesus did. Fast forward, I teach the kids to learn how to let go, live life, and show love to all things that don't matter where y'all from. And luckily, there's a show called Talk Time. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Dax kicks the facts on all the geek news, special guests and unbiased reviews. Suburban kids, the hipster street dudes, all can learn something new. Me too. I heard words when no faith is empty. I stayed the course, so my haters tempt me. Beep the podcast, that'll make them envy. It ain't too trendy, it's A.C.M.G. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Live.
Welcome back. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the Prime Show. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. I am back and bigger and better than ever, people. I got my new computer here. Everything's just so great right now. I mean, I am very grateful for a lot of reasons because let me tell you, this has been a whirlwind of a week leading up to me coming back on this show. I learned a lot this week in terms of just what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the computer world, Bitcoin, everything. Because upon trying to get a new build for my computer, which I thank goodness I got right here, I learned about the 30s, 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s, graphics cards. I did not know. I will admit, I did not know that graphics cards was such a huge commodity right now because I'm not a PC gamer. I'm not a Bitcoin miner. So far be it from me. I'm a graphic designer. This is all I do with the computers. I don't do anything outside of content creation, and graphic design for clients and all this stuff. So I didn't know that this was going on. And lo and behold, I got a crash course thanks to the great people of Micro Center and a couple of great guys that I had the chance of meeting the day that I stood out and camped out from 2 a.m. in the morning till 10 a.m. Yes. For those of you who, might not understand this, the graphics card situation is a huge deal. And what happened with this is because they're so high demand but so low supply, people are camping out in various stores, in particular Micro Center. And for those of you who do their own builds and get their computer parts, this place. This is a candy store for techies, and it is an awesome place. This is where I got all my builds at. Is where my late friend Chris and I put together the last one, and now this one as well. But this was put together by people at Micro Center now, who did a great job. Not only did a great job with it, helped me out big time. Shout out to Blondie, who's like a seasoned veteran in that store. And she took me through everything. She taught me everything in terms of Bitcoin and why these things are not there. Because, 5 years ago, I went into this. We went into the store. We got everything we needed. There was no problem. There was no such thing as Bitcoin or not only that, but PC building wasn't a big thing. Like only a few people were building their computers customly, where everybody else was getting the Alienwares and all the stuff. Now these kids are smart, have smartened up, and they have now invested hugely, whether it's from PC gaming to Bitcoin mining, which I found out how big of a deal that is and how the 3070s, 3080s, or 3090 graphics cards play into this. And it's an amazing thing. Shout out to the Reddit group Discord, who actually, who I was hanging around with. First of all, I was hanging around with these guys. They were very nice. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. The night, like, again, in order for me to get this card or have a chance of getting this card, there was no guarantees, but in order to even try to have a chance to get this card, I had to be there, drop dead early. And the earliest I got there was at 2 a.m. in the morning, at 2:30 at best. And there were already like 7 people there. I was number 8, but these were some of the nicest guys. They literally camped out there. They had, soccer chairs and all that stuff there. They had blankets. Some of the guys that I was with actually were there since 7 o'clock p.m. prior to. That's how hardcore these guys are, and they're coming. Some of them are sellers. Some of them are, are doing it for Bitcoin, creating Bitcoin builds. Others like me was just there to get a graphics card so I could do all this stuff that I'm doing right now. I had no clue about this stuff. But I tell you this, I will never do that again. Not because it wasn't safe, because it was 2 o'clock in the morning. It was 30 degrees out there. This is as close to the polar bear plunge as I'm ever going to get here, people. So, but not to that sense, I want to thank the Discord guys. They were just so awesome. For those who don't know, Discord is a group on Reddit who look out for each other in a sense of trying to make sure that they get these graphics cards when they come out. And sometimes every day is random. You never know how many they're going to be able to get in inventory. Sometimes it be 10 cards or items and you don't know which one it is. Or it could be like up to 20, sometimes or 30. You never know. But they keep track of it. The managers all try to help out, let them know what's up and up and up. There's other possibilities. And if it's big, if there's going to be a lot in stock and the day is not bad, they're going to be camping out. There's going to be a lot of people camping out. And there's always going to be some late bloomers there. If not, they tend to stay in. So it was just a wild experience. But I thank them because they... I wasn't for part of the Discord crew. I was just a guy there. So they were, they were very nice. Not only were they nice, they gave me, they really looked out for me, man. We looked out for each other. And take note, this is the first time I've ever been socially around anybody this entire time during COVID. And why I wasn't worried about that was because during the same day that I was just camping out at 2 a.m. until 10 was also the same day that I was getting my first vaccination. So I didn't really care too much, and everybody was somewhat, socially safe and distanced to an extent. So people were cool. People were cool with it. Nobody was breathing down everybody's necks or whatever. At least 4 to 6 feet at best. But it was just really... I had a great time. I brought my iPad with me and some things to do. I never used my iPad. I never ate the food that I had because they gave me a chair to sit in throughout the whole entire time. They had an extra chair. They gave me a blanket. One of the guys, looked out for me and gave me a blanket while they slept in the car for a bit. We all looked out for each other's space and areas. And they even went as far as I got breakfast. I got Wawa breakfast. It was just such an awesome experience of camaraderie. And I feel like if I even try to do that again, one, it had to be in a warmer climate. 2, I don't think I would get that same experience again. It was so good that I feel like I don't want to do it. I'd rather, if I'm going to plan to get one of those really powerful graphics cards, I'm going to wait at least maybe a year when the economy comes back up and, they're able to go back in the factories and mass produce these things a lot better. But that experience was just so special. It felt very sacred. And I couldn't thank those guys enough. And it was, it was literally a multicultural amount of people. Like most of them were white, but it was myself and then another guy, just I think 3 guys of color, and it wasn't even about that. We all looked out. It was more like a men's retreat in some cases, but because some of us were married and some of us had girlfriends and all this stuff, and we were able to just open up and instantly open up. We're all in this, bind right now. So I so enjoyed it. I thank them all. Granted, the bad news is that I never got the card because they didn't have enough and I just didn't get it. But we managed to find a graphics card that was suitable enough for me to do what I'm doing right now and to be able to play. And let me tell you, this new groovy build that I have, because this thing now glows and it now, has multicolors, because I think that's a new thing. I wanted to use the old case that my late friend had, but it was just, we were 5 years far removed. Technology has gotten, so much better. And, now I have a slightly smaller build, but this thing, and I still have the old case. I'm going to do something with that case and honor and memory of him in some form or fashion. I was told probably a server. We'll see. But nonetheless, this new build is so awesome. And trust me, Chris would understand, because Chris is a builder and he knows that eventually we couldn't be able to use this thing anymore, this old case anyway. But for him, I'm keeping it. I'm doing something with it regardless. I don't even know if it's just mounting it or whatever like that. But the CT 5700 case, Chris Thomas, is going to stay and remain as far as I'm concerned. But what an awesome trip. But not only that, there's some even bigger news that I have. And I'm not even going to waste time talking about that here. I'm going to go directly over to the next segment, because in this episode, we're going to be focusing on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the debut episode, and Justice League, the Snyder cut. We finally get a chance to see this movie, and did it live up to the hype? We're going to talk about, we got so much to talk about there. So let's not waste any time, folks. Let's find out what's new in the world of A.C.M.G.
And now it's time to find out what's new in the world of A.C.M.G.
All right, folks, so let's get this out of the way, because this is very huge news that I got to announce right now, and I couldn't be any happier. This has been a whirlwind of a week. And, just adding on to the fact that I got vaccinated this week, my first one. So I'm very, can't tell you how satisfied I am with that, and happy and relieved. But also, the polar bear plunge deal that I had, I'm calling it the polar bear plunge because it was 30 degrees, darn it. So I had to, work with that at Micro Center, and I had the experience and, really fun experience with that. But I guess the proverbial cherry on the top will come in the form of an email that I received this week from the good people at Repop. If you guys remember, I worked with them in 2000, actually dating back to 2018. I've worked with them, doing some media events, actually working and liaisoning, some guests for them at that year. And that's how we really started kicking off with things with that, because of, people that I know that were able to help you with that, with the first Keystone event. And then the second year came and it got bigger, because then I was offered a opportunity to host 2 live panels, which I never done before at the time. And that was the Art of Street Fighter panel with Longvo and Champa. And then also the Voices of Overwatch with Fred Tatasciore and Charlotte Chung. And it was an amazing experience, especially the Overwatch panel, which had like over 300, roughly about 300 people in there. It was a huge crowd. And by the way, if you're listening from the A.C.M.G. Facebook group right now, you've probably seen the video announcement of this. So if you're in the A.C.M.G. Facebook group, you can listen here, but you can also check out the video that I put together explaining this. But of course, COVID hit. COVID hit hard. We were scheduled to do 2020 Keystone Comic Con. I met with them in person, all of them, the staff behind our convention here in Philly. And then COVID happened and everything got shut down. And Repop, adapted. They transitioned to what is called the Metaverse, which was a series of Q&As and panels and whatnot, and just a whole bunch of fun things with some people in the world of our favorite fandoms. So I get an email, from one of the people that I've worked with before, and thank goodness that, they're still around and they're still kicking, and it looks like things are starting to liven up again with Repop, so that's awesome. But he gave me an offer I just could not refuse. and I wondered what I was going to do to top what I did last year, which last year was a record-setting amount of guests that I had on the show. Well, looks like I did top it this year because I can announce that I am now contracted to host 4 panels for Repop's Metaverse under the Repop banner and a series of anime themed panels. 2 of which is based on a legendary franchise. I am going to be covering Pokemon. That's the first announcement. Not only am I going to do that, we're going to have one is going to be a trivia show, and the other one is just celebrating the 25-year anniversary of this huge, successful franchise. And I'm not coming alone. This franchise is going to be accompanying me with Veronica Taylor, Rachel Lillis, and Eric Stewart, aka Ash Ketchum, Misty, and Brock. Literally the trifecta of the franchise is going to be the first Pokemon Masters are going to be with me, and I'm doing a trivia show with them, and I believe I'm going to be doing a Q&A with them as well. So that's going to be awesome. The second one is going to be one of my favorite people ever, and she just happened to be the Hokage, and that is the Naruto cast. Molly Flanagan is coming back. I'm working with her once again, and we're going to be doing a fan trivia show. And this is going to be interesting because I've never done this before. Not only that, I won't have to work on production anymore. I've been doing production of my show for quite some time. It's going to feel weird to have somebody else do all of this, but it's also going to be a relief. I feel like I'm going to require to do something, but all I got to do is just entertain and have fun. And I love it. I just love it. But along with Molly Flanagan, I'm also going to have Sasuke Uchiha returning, aka Yuri Lowenthal, aka Spider-Man. So he's coming back on the show. Remember, I had the cast last year during the DreamCon event, and I had the cast of Naruto that I was hosting for that and moderating for that as well. But this is a first. The third guest of that show will be none other than Kate Higgins, aka Sakura. I've never had them before and didn't have all of them at once. Now, I've had Boruto and Naruto together for the first time on the show once, but now I'm going to be able to host this event and be able to talk with Kate Higgins, and we're all going to have fun doing a trivia show, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I am going to enjoy that one, and I'm going to be educated as well because I think I think I've lasted up to the Great Ninja War, and after that I haven't messed with the Madara series outside of the game. So I am very familiar with everything up to that point. So it's going to be interesting to see what questions we come up with that, but that's going to be a lot of fun. And that, I believe, may be a live taping. So I'm very much looking forward to that as well. So both trivia shows should be live. So I'm excited for that. But to end it all, I got another panel that's going to be happening very soon, and this is probably going to be the first one to happen. But I'm extremely excited for this one because this one I've been eyeing for quite some time. I can announce that I will be hosting the Q&A featuring the cast of My Hero Academia, the English dub cast for those who are in the who's not in the States. That is Justin Brenner, Clifford Chapin, Monica Rial, who many of you know as Bulma from the Dragon Ball series, David Matrana, and Lucy Christian, who, I mean, this is just awesome. I mean, Justin Brenner is Midoriya, Clifton Chapin is Bakugo, I believe, Monica Rial is Suyu Asai, and David Matrana is actually Todoroki, and Lucy Christian is Ochako. So this is just, I've been waiting. I love this series. I love the performances in this series. It's going to be great to be able to talk to these guys. I'm already set up. My questions is ready. And trust me, that production is happening very soon. I will let you guys know when all of this will be available, because 9 chances out of 10, you'll be able to see all of this on YouTube eventually. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't thank the great people of Repop enough for reaching out to me, because I didn't know whether I was going to be able to work with them again. in some form or fashion because of COVID, or what's going to happen with the live appearances and live cons in 2021 and such. And, you know, my people reached out, and it just speaks volumes of everything that I've done. You know, it just, when I got this email, I was so excited, but so emotional in the sense that I just don't know what's going on. And it from this situation and what's going to happen, and will I be back up? Because I felt like the momentum that I was getting was just, you know, kind of pulled from under me in a sense because of COVID. But I kept faith, and 2020 was still a very successful year for this show, and now things are going to be better. At this point is, and not only that, I mean, don't forget, this just popped up out of nowhere. But I still have guests that's going to be on this show as well that are being set up soon. So now it's just a matter of trying to schedule them in the midst of what's going to be, you know, the dates of what's going to be happening here. So it's going to be a very busy few months. I can tell you that. So stay tuned for all that. I'm just grateful. I am absolutely grateful for all this. And I'm telling you, people, for those of you who are wondering what you need to do to fulfill any type of goal or dream or aspiration, all I can say is do your homework. You know, put the passion into it. Don't worry about monetary or whatever, because that'll eventually come into some form or fashion. Just have fun. Just have fun with it, and things will happen. People will see how much fun you have, and people will eventually see. And also, I can't stress this enough. Create a great brand. Create a great looking brand that will attract your target audience. Rather invest in a graphic designer like myself, or somebody who can really get you going. And I can't stress this enough. Invest, and you know, just show what you got. Show your worth out there. You know, it doesn't happen when you want it to. It happens when it needs to be. And trust me when I tell you, this is the right time. The fact that I have a new computer, a new Yeti X mic, if you're hearing it right now, I love this microphone, by the way. Such an awesome microphone. And just, you know, thank my family and my wife for all the support that, you know, and more than the support that, you know, has been given to me in this faction. So I am ready, and I hope you are too. So let's get that going. All right, let's talk about some other news here. This is going to be a very deep, impactful episode, I'm telling you now. So let's talk Marvel Avengers on the PS5. Can I tell you, people, that I am relieved right now. Just this week, which was also something that epically came in, was that what they did was they finally updated the entire thing to the PS5. They finally got a lot of the bugs and glitches out that they had it prior to when the first thing came out. Now, people don't get it. Crystal Dynamics should get every bit as the anger and frustration that CD Projekt Red has got with Cyberpunk. And I think the only reason why they didn't is because they didn't have a Keanu Reeves like person. And that they didn't have Keanu Reeves level person, and that in the game they didn't have anybody that big in the game, like to that caliber. But because Keanu Reeves was involved in it, I truly believe that they actually got the bigger hype. But before that, Crystal Dynamics came out with a very buggy, very unfinished, product that was based around the Marvel universe. And, it's one thing we couldn't do that people were so angry, and including myself. And if you followed this show, for weeks on end, since the debut of that, I was very upset that you couldn't play the story mode, the main story campaign. That is now solved. They have a replay campaign mode now in the configuration that allow you to replay that now. So they have along with the other expanded games that they have in there. So that's there. Everything is a lot more stable than it was before. It looks a lot better, and I am very happy. I can finally say that I'm happy with this. The only thing that I'm really kind of upset about, but I'm not, because this is not their fault. This is just something that has being done by all the games that are being upgraded to the PS5, which, by the way, Yakuza Like a Dragon, I didn't realize that was already upgraded to the PS5. The one thing, and this is occurring with that too, is that you can't transfer your save data from the PS4 to the PS5. I believe there somebody found a way on your Eurogamer or whatever like that, but what I don't for Avengers, I don't care. I don't mind starting over again, because one, I was gonna erase my data anyway if I wasn't getting to play the replay mode, because now that I'm playing it again, it really tells you that the story campaign of Marvel Avengers is the heart of the game. Everything else is just extra stuff that you don't care about pretty much, but there's so much that you could do on the main campaign that you can't do in the mission modes. You know, the narrative that it creates, the storytelling and the development, it's just not there. It's a really full game experience that you get from there. And I tell you, man, it is just absolutely a breath of fresh air. And to that, I say thank you, Crystal Dynamics, for finally getting this thing up and running, even though you guys should have just waited to come out with this game when it was absolutely ready. Rushing it was not a deal, and we learned that hopefully the next time around they won't do that with the next game that they work on. But I can tell you this, they're now where it should have been at day one, and it's only going to get better from this point. I enjoy it. Now, it's not perfect. It is not perfect. There are still some little buggy things, minor buggy things that happen in this thing, but there's none so far. I haven't played any major glitches from that, but it's on a PS5. It looks better. It plays better. There's no loading time. Like, the loading is absolutely great in here. There's no loading screens. It's just boom, one from another. They even took out the loading screen, and now they use it for something else. The loading animations that they have with the heroes, it's now being used for something else. Like, they still have it, but you can just click it and watch it, at your own leisure. But overall, I am finally pleased with this game, because now it is exactly the way it was intended to play it. So I can absolutely enjoy every bit of it now. And I also like the fact that they finally announced the Black Panther expansion, which is coming sometime in the summer, and it looks awesome. Black Panther looks tremendous. I have not played the Hawkeye expansion yet, because I am now I'm replaying the campaign again to level everything up and gather it up, but also to enjoy the story as it is. This game, in all seriousness, the game is actually really, really good. But I would definitely say that taking the story, and here's the thing, they actually was not intending to bring the story mode back. It was only the only reason why they actually brought it back was because fans wanted it back. They want, I don't understand. I really don't understand the purpose of not giving us the main story mode for us to replay it, which really makes me think of what they were trying to do in hindsight of this. Because Jump Force on Bandai Namco's Jump Force, they did the same thing, and they tried to, and we still have not been able to play the main story mode of that game, even though it's not as polished as what they did here with Marvel Avengers. But you got some top of the line actors portraying these great roles, and it's actually a really great story. It's not good, it's a great story. So why wouldn't we want to enjoy that again? Because you want us to focus on the online aspect and the monetary aspect, and no, I just want to play the story. I want to enjoy the story. I don't want to do the multi-online thing. I'm a single player. I haven't found a real good reason to play online. Like, the last time I played online was when I owned an Xbox, and it was some crazy racist type of atmosphere and a really toxic atmosphere there. So I was like, no, I can't deal with this, except for the only time it wasn't is when I played it with somebody in the UK. Oddly enough. So that was that situation there. And, but it's very much more enjoyable now. If you want to check it out, now is the time to check it out, especially if you own a PS5. I think it will do it justice. This is the time that you should play it. And God, again, hopefully they will wait a little bit longer to come out with this, with games now, because it's well worth it. And now this is something that Square Enix can be proud of. And credit to Crystal Dynamics for finally getting it out and pushing hard, but there's no way. And I remember watching an actual one of their war tables, not the war tables, but one of the developers vlogs that they did, where the guy actually said, people have been asking to bring back the story mode. Well, we're actually going to bring back the story mode, but we have to make sure that it's not allocating or not, reconfiguring some things that they're planning to do, meaning they don't want it to mess with their money. And they had to do it in a way that it doesn't mess with their money. So that is the part that got me, because that was telling me that they were never intending to bring back the story mode, but due to high demand, dude, we paid over $100 for this game. Why wouldn't we want to play the story mode? Why would we want to just play the mission modes after that experience and not listen to these great voice actors, play these roles? I don't understand that, but it's here. It's enjoyable. It's stable. And it should only get better from here. So go at it and check it out and enjoy from there. So let's just flip it. Let's go from one Marvel thing to two Marvel things. Let's talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Okay. I'm not going to be as detailed as I am for Justice League, the Snyder cut, because one, it's an hour compared to the 4 hours, 2 minutes of that. But I'll just highlight it as best I can and get it through. But this first episode was fantastic. If you're fans of the Winter Soldier, everything that you love about Winter Soldier is in this game, including George St. Pierre returning as the Leaper. LeBlanc is back. Everybody wanted this dude to come back. If you're a mixed martial arts fan and a Marvel fan, this is like just absolute gold for you, because George St. Pierre is one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. He is awesome, but he was fantastic playing the Leaper and fighting against Captain America. Now he is fighting against Falcon, and possibly what could be the better fight scene. The first scene of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the first fight scene in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think is better than the first scene of the Winter Soldier. It's just phenomenal. They're up in the air. They're hijacking. They're kidnapping this general. Falcon comes in, tries to save this general before they reach the border and everything. Leaper comes out of nowhere, surprise everybody, and the internet was going crazy at his arrival. The fact that he's still alive, the fact that he's still fighting, he is awesome. He looks exactly the way he did those years ago. He's tougher than ever. And even better, he did not die. He's still alive. He's still around after this really awesome, chaotic, fight with Falcon as he's flying through one. They're all gliding in the sky, and this was just awesome. This was just so awesome to see GSP as such a thing. And he got some speaking roles this time. It wasn't just him like fighting and kicking ass. They're flying in the air using those flying squirrel type of suits and gliders or whatever. And they're all having, and Falcon has this situation. It was such an awesome sequence. This was high octane at his best. And man, this was intense. But at the end of this fight, he got away, and I really enjoyed this. But the theme of this seems to be Sam not coming to terms with him being worthy enough to helm the shield that Captain America gave him at the last scene of Endgame, which was a lot of people's favorite, most memorable role of that. So Falcon decides to actually, donate it to the Smithsonian Museum, as a way of honoring Steve, which Steve would not have approved of that, but Falcon seems to be the one to think that he's not worthy of it. And what we got also, what Marvel fans was rewarded with through this, was we got to see Don Cheadle, who made an appearance in this episode. He was at the event, and to see it, but Rhodey did not look any bit as happy about what Sam was doing here, because he wanted, Rhodey wanted Sam to take that shield. And I think not only just because he felt that he was worthy of it, but the theme of this also, I think there's an underlying theme of this that I think that's going to be fleshed out throughout the entire series. But Sam, I don't know if it's because of if it's a race situation or a cultural situation, but I felt like Rhodey really wanted him to be the one to, helm it, because not only because was he worthy, but he has a right to be Captain America. And I think that's going to be the underlying theme. And that was the whole theme of that scene at the end of Endgame too. And that's been the theme of this situation now with, when they did make Sam Wilson Captain America in the comics. There was a whole bunch of quote unquote controversy involved with that, because certain people did not agree with the idea of Sam Wilson taking over that shield. It's always going to be the case, just like now. There's a new LGBTQ representation of Captain America, and my God, are people going insane? Dude, get over it. Get over. Do people not understand what America is and what it's supposed to mean? When you say America, it is a multicultural amount of people that has the right to be whatever they want. That is the point of this country. That is the main factor of this country. America means multicultural means of being whoever you want. That is my definition of it, and that's the way it was intended. But the minute that somebody tries to take over something that was once helmed by a white or Caucasian character or person, it's like full ownership. It's no fill in the blank allowed. And that's just ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I fully support the new Captain America that they're making right now, this LGBTQ one. I also accept Sam Wilson. It doesn't matter what you are. It's America. America doesn't mean Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is not Captain America in a sense. Steve Rogers took the helm of the title of Captain America. He is not, in fact, he embodies that America. Sam Wilson embodies America. This new guy embodies America. American Chavez embodies America. Okay, like y'all, people got to get over it. You can't say America but be one-dimensional minded and one-sided in here. But I digress. Let's get back to the swing of things. So he basically decided to give it back. And then Rhodey and Sam had this conversation, and, it just went on from there. He just felt like he just couldn't do it. And this is not the end of this discussion. So there's also a new threat out there, this new faction or, group that is out there, this new militia group, that's secret organization. They're in this, third world country, and Sam is with this new character in here who I guess this is kind of pretty much his sidekick. He's kind of his Bucky in this case. And so he's out. They're out. The part of this is them looking out for this new group that is happening right now, and which is leading into some bigger things. And this is what you seen in the commercial where you saw the female in a mask that had the hand on it, and she apparently may have superhuman abilities. There's another guy in here that has superhuman abilities because his sidekick that is tracking us down. And let me get the names of these people in here while I'm doing this. While he's trying to track them down, he's infiltrating this and tracking them to find out whether what's going on, who's a part of this, who's heading this and leading this. And he found out the bad way who was taking charge of this and who was leading this, because he got his ass handed to him. Okay, so that's that situation right there. Then we got also Bucky, who has his own situation. He's still having nightmares after all of what's going on, and it's really sad and tragic. He has this dream that is coming up out of nowhere, and of him, in Winter Soldier mode. He's in sleeper cell mode, and he's taking out his target. And then, unfortunately, somebody else, an innocent bystander, just happened to witness the situation. The dude was so scared that he had a hard time trying to open the door and close the door. And Bucky in Winter Soldier mode, and winded up, taking him out. He ended him. He pretty much ended him at this point, and it was unfortunate. Bucky, in the meantime, doesn't have too many friends. He doesn't hang around too many people. He's in therapy trying to figure this all out. That was a really funny moment that they had in there because him and the therapist were basically, trying to get out of him what was going through his mind. Did he have nightmares again? Bucky refused to talk, so she wanted to write it down on a pad. He was annoyed that she wanted to write it down on a pad. And it became a really funny thing, but she did manage to get it out of him. And he told about this story of how he was going to, how he was pretty much, what was he trying to do? He was telling her how he was trying to make amends. Now, if you know about like any anonymous type of deals or stuff like that, or like if you watch Moms and they do their 12-step program or whatever, you know that part of the deals, you got to make amends to the people that you hurt in the past. So his way of doing this was to try to stop the person that he helped, build her career because of Hydra back then. So he set it up, and it was hilarious. It was so funny. And he winded up apprehending her. He put somewhat of a controller into her car and managed to nab her or whatever. Didn't kill her, didn't hurt her like he told the therapist. And it was hilarious. In fact, the actress who plays the therapist is Amy Aquino. And I've seen her in a bunch of other shows before. She's really good. She's really great at hair. And not only is she a therapist, but she's also enlisted and been in tours as well. So she does have somewhat of an understanding of what Bucky has been going through, but not to that level. Like, she knows that there's only a limit of what she has been through, because whatever she's been through, and she's probably been through a lot, Bucky has been through even bigger. So, but he's starting to make amends there. And then we go to another scene where Bucky is hanging around this old guy, this old Asian gentleman, Yuri, I believe. Yuri is a neighbor of his or whatever. So, but they go out a lot because he can relate to him, because people got to remember Bucky is 100 years old. He's also just like Captain America, who he's iced away, and we haven't seen him for years on end. So he's still living his young life at this case, but he is 100 years old, and Yuri's the only guy that can relate to him in this case. They are at the sushi bar. And I'm missing a step of the introduction to Yuri, but Yuri was fighting with his neighbor who was trying to put trash into his bin, and Yuri is very upset. He's hurt because his son has been killed, and he's displacing his anger upon everybody. So Bucky is the one that's I don't think Bucky knew what was going on. It still hasn't been saying that Bucky knew this, but they hang around each other. Yuri actually, there's a woman who works at the sushi bar that they're at. Very attractive woman. And Yuri winds up being the wingman for him and just be blatant and asks her, that he wants to take her out on a date. And for the first time, you see Bucky not prepared, because if you remember back at the original, the first Avenger of Captain America, Bucky was that suave dude. He was that swag and suave dude that was always great with women. Now he's not so much, because he's got so much going on. He has PTSD, and he's not the same dude that he was back in the 30s or whatever time he was around. And it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny to see him in that way, and so vulnerable to that extent. So they wind up actually going out on a date and stuff like that. But upon going out on a date, she kind of reveals what's going on with Yuri and why he is the way he is, and come to find out that he's been hurt by the fact that his son has died in a trip far away. It just happens to be the same trip that he assassinated those guys, and it just so happens that Yuri's son is the innocent bystander that he killed. So that's all coming back to his head, and it's not certain whether he knew this or not beforehand, but when she mentioned it, it was like he put two and two together. He went to the house. He went to Yuri's house to see if he was all right. Now, blatantly, he left his date hanging, by the way. He just completely left the date after that, which, by the way, I like the fact that they were having playing Battleship as a drinking game. I thought that was really interesting. But he, upon him finding out the story that she told him, because she knows Yuri very well, he wound up, going back to his place, and he opened the door. He had a little shrine of his son there, and they did a close up on the camera, and lo and behold, it is the very guy that he unfortunately killed. And he paid him back the money that he owed for the dinner that he had, and he left. I don't know what's going to happen with that. It was just very tragic at that point. You kind of felt bad for both in the case, because again, this is not what Bucky ever wanted to do. He was a sleeper agent. When you're in that situation, you don't know what's going to happen, and it's just right there. Now, take note that they did not, nor Bucky or Sam met yet. They're both just fleshing out both stories here. And that's that right now. And then we also have Sam and his family situation. Now, I love this because we get to see more of Sam's world. We get to know more about Sam as well as Bucky in this case. But we knew a lot about Bucky throughout all of these different movies that he's been, because they fleshed out his story and his origin story here. We didn't get to see enough about Anthony Mackie as the Falcon. And here we get to see him. I believe they went back to New Orleans, and, his family, who ran a fishing boat and was working for years on a fishing boat. And this is another scene where they flesh out the events of what happened during the 5-year blip. And his sister is there. I love the actor who's playing his sister, Sarah Wilson. How do I pronounce her name? Adepero Adoye. Beautiful name. So she plays Sarah Wilson. I love her character. I love how down to earth she is. Their performance, their chemistry together was very real. You could really tell they felt like brother and sister right there, because I had that same rapport with my sister as well. And they were fighting about keeping the boat that their family had for so long. She felt like they can't keep the boat forever. It was hemorrhaging money, and she had a hard time in the 5 years because she had 2 kids during the time when he was blipped away and disappeared with the rest of the family there, with the rest of the world, or half of it. And she had to deal with things on her own. Her husband died. She had 2 kids along the way. She was handling the family business on her own, and she was struggling. And he didn't want her to give up. He said he would try to find a way to get their funds back. And this was a foolish thing of Sam, because he felt like because of his celebrity status, that it would gain him the opportunity to get approved of loans, which would have been the case. But because of, the 5-year blip and disappearance, a lot of people were unfortunately damaged by the idea of them ever getting certain opportunities, because everything changed. But also the other thing is too, this is something that's been an occurrence of what's going on systemically in our country. The lack of resources and the lack of opportunities. And they showed and displayed this. And the funny thing is, I told my wife about this, like, not just days ago prior to this, because we were talking about this during the documentary. FX has a documentary on hip hop, and they were talking about how, certain, our community, the reason why we don't mess with banks a lot, not all of us, is because they don't support us. When they're trying to come out and do a business, they don't support us. They don't provide us with the loans that we need, or they do, and these loans are really sketchy in a sense. It's the same thing with the medical field and everything. There's a lot of skepticism when trying to deal with certain things to give us the opportunities that everybody else has. So a lot of times banks don't approve of certain things that is happening here. So they're at the bank, and they're trying to get this loan to help her refinance everything, because and bring back the business. She told him that she's been to many banks before and they didn't approve, but Anthony is thinking his celebrity status was going to do. Unfortunately, that was not the case, because with the white gentleman that has worked with him, claimed that due to the fact that he was blipped out for 5 years, that the policies have changed, and they're not going to give a loan to somebody who just happened to just come back from that resurgence, from that situation. Granted, he has all the credentials. He has some GI contracts that he can more than afford to do this. And they still wouldn't let him through. His sister was, skeptical as hell. She wasn't believing that it was because of that. And it's hard to say whether it was. The guy, the accounts clerk at the bank, he didn't seem like it, but you never know. But he was also fanning out of the fact that, Falcon is in there with him. But at the same time, he wouldn't give Falcon the opportunity to prove that, he can do this, even despite the fact that this man has willingly put his life on the line many a times and saved the damn planet. He still can't get along. That to me is ridiculous. I bet if Sam Wilson or Bucky or any of those guys would come, I got a feeling they would get that low. And that was kind of what they were playing on here. And I think there's going to be a lot of themes of that going throughout this thing, especially at the end of this show, because at the end of the show, at the end of this first episode, this first 50-minute episode, they did some shadiness on Sam. The man just gave the shield and donated to the Smithsonian Museum. Then all of a sudden, lo and behold, I guess the senator or mayor, whatever, somebody who was in public office made a major announcement, a major news announcement that since Cap was away and he's no longer, and Falcon didn't want to take the helm, even though Falcon's still being a hero, he's still a quote unquote Avenger, and he's still doing his thing. They felt that they needed a hero, a representational hero to help him, that takes over the helm of Captain America. So what do? They hire a guy to take over this helm. And my God, John Walker, of all people, if you don't know that name, if you're not a comic book fan, but especially not a Marvel comic book fan, but John Walker in the comics is known as the U.S. Agent. This U.S. Agent is played by Wyatt Russell. Good choice, not bad. U.S. Agent is one of I can't stand this character in the comics. Like I hate him. I hate him. He's such, I can't say the words, but let me put it this way. If you're a DC fan and you don't know about who U.S. Agent is, I can only describe him as Guy Gardner. He is that dude. He is a total fill in the blank. At a time when, one of the first times when Captain America, dropped the helm of being Captain America, he came in and took over. He wanted to be a new Captain America, a different Captain America. He wind up being a rogue at this point. The dude just, he was so wrong. I don't want to say it, but he could be considered like the 45 version of Captain America in this case. And it's going to be interesting to see how he's portrayed in here. He's made not for you not to like him. And I think this is a perfect setting for him. And, in this case, so I am very excited. Like, we knew U.S. Agent was going to be in this series, but it's going to be very interesting. Now that I see him in the flesh, my comic books has really kicked in, and my disdain for this guy came in. So I do tell you this. I like the suit. It's not black and red. It's not black, red and white like it was in the comics, but it still has the same design patterns that the original had. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this character, and how is Sam going to get that shield back? Is he going to take over? Are we going to see the comic book version of Sam Wilson as Captain America? I'm hoping that's what happens at the end, but we got 5 more episodes to go. This is a 6-episode series. Unlike WandaVision, this is going to have more. I think every episode is going to be an hour as opposed to 2 hour, like a half-hour episode here, or I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm hoping that it's going to be an hour episode each, because it's only 6, whereas Wanda had, I think, 10. But I am looking forward to this, and I think so far so good. So far so good. I don't know what is going to happen. We still haven't seen Sharon Carter yet, Emily Van Camp's character, but we got a lot, and we haven't seen Zemo. Zemo has not arrived yet, but we're going to see him soon, best believe, and I can't wait. Erin Kellyman is Carly Morgatha. I don't know how to pronounce that name exactly. I'm probably butchering it, but if you guys remember, Erin Kellyman played on Star Wars a while back, and not Star Wars, but the Solo movie a while back. She's also going to be playing in Willow too. She's actually perfect for that. So I am interested in what they're going to do with this character, because they keep showing her in the trailers, and then on top of that, there's one particular trailer where we actually see her with superhuman abilities, and she gives Bucky a run for her money. So that tells you right there. This first episode was absolutely awesome. If you haven't checked it out, go out of your way, check it out. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is here. Also, I want to recommend, if you haven't seen this yet, but they're also doing behind the scenes documentaries as well for all of these shows. So the first one is on WandaVision. It's called, the series is called Reassemble. And it's basically going behind the scenes of what they did to make all of these shows. But the first one that they have up, and I don't think we're going to see the second one until after Falcon and the Winter Soldier is over. But go out of your way to check out the behind the scenes in the making of WandaVision, because that was spectacular. And you got to see everything of what they did. They talked to the actual the cast and the production crew, and I can't believe they actually had a live studio audience during the first few episodes that had the Dick Van Dyke themes to it and the Bewitched themes to it. That was awesome. They had an actual live crowd, and not only that, but the live audience also were dressed kind of retro-like too, so just to get the feel of it. And I can't stress enough of what they did with that series. But go out of your way, check it out, folks. That will do it for what's new in the world of A.C.M.G. We're going to take a break, come back. Ooh boy, we're going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, a far cry of a movie from the original Joss Whedon version. We'll talk about all of that right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our ACMG content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things ACMG.
Talk Time Live.
This is Amanda Celine Miller, the voice of Boruto and Sailor Jupiter, and you are listening to ACMG Presents Talk Time Live.
Do it.
And now it's time for our talk topic of the week. Ready? Fight!
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our talk topic of the week, and it is my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. The Snyder Cut has finally arrived. Everybody who fought, everybody who debated, everybody who campaigned and signed petitions and everything finally got what they want. But was it worth it? Was it worth it all? 4 hours and 2 minutes of this movie to capitalize on everything that Zack Snyder wanted to see. Was it worth it? For me personally, and for majority of people, and I say majority, I mean like virtually, if you know a percentage, is 99% of the people on our ACMG Facebook group that commented on this movie all says yes, it was well worth it. I cannot believe what we saw. I watched this movie twice. Yes, I watched this movie that was 4 hours and 2 minutes twice. And each time I enjoyed every minute of it. This was not only just the movie that fans wanted to see and was told that was out and was told it was awesome. This was the definitive DC film. This movie is what I believe everybody was waiting for. And as a person who is a fan of Zack Snyder's visionary artistry, I think this, as far as Zack Snyder movies, this is now my top. Like, I love Watchmen. I believe he worked on 300 as well and a few others. I hated Sucker Punch. Can't stand that movie. But that was more of the writing than it was the visuals. But Justice League took it. It was just everything that he did, but better at this point. I loved it. I love what he did. He added so much. I feel like they took more out of the original, but added so much more to this one and kept a little bit of what the Joss Whedon version was. And I tell you, speaking of Joss Whedon, man, this does not help his case at all. After watching this, you know, so many people are praising this movie, and lo and behold, now everybody's looking at Joss Whedon and like almost vilifying this dude for everything that was being said about him, how he handled things, how he treated people. Ray Fisher, especially, who was one of the first to really speak out on him. This does not help his case. You look at this movie and question why he made the decision to do what he did, made a diluted version of what, like, you look at the two movies combined, it is night and day. You cannot see that it is not. It is two completely different movies that have some scenes that they both used. To me, this is not a director's cut. To me, this is a reboot. This is a complete reboot of this movie and almost a reboot of the entire franchise, but they do connect a lot of the events of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman in there, respectfully. But it also helps both those movies better. I think this movie really helped Batman vs. Superman, and to that extent, it helped Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor character a little bit more. It actually helped Jared Leto as the Joker. This did so much, and I think this not only just has more legs to stand on, but it really fully it established the DC film universe for what we wanted it to be. And Zack Snyder deserves a lot of credit for what he's did, along with the people that helped him behind it. Christopher Nolan also had his hand in this too. So you could tell there may be some Nolan-esque type of situations in here as well. But the collaboration and with Zack Snyder's vision, it helped it greatly. He did such a phenomenal job. His wife did a phenomenal job with this, and they dedicated this to their child Autumn, which, of course, that was the reason why this version of the movie never really came out, was because they had that tragic loss of their child, and Joss Whedon took over, and then Joss Whedon for some reason did this franchise any disservice. And that's when the controversy happened with that. So, and that's when the Snyder Cut happened. And that's when people were investing in money to, put out billboards for this. I mean, this is huge. This speaks volumes of Zack Snyder and his quality. I got a friend that's in the A.C.M.G. Facebook group that is not particularly the biggest fan of Zack Snyder, for just based on his visual perspective of things and how he does things. But I would argue that makes him stand out. The way his visual arts style that he does, it stands out. Now, granted, I can understand where he's coming from, what my friend is coming from with this, because here's the situation. Zack Snyder can be compared to the artist in the 90s, the boom period of comic books, where it was all phenomenal art and the writing kind of sucks. If you put that mindset, that perspective, that analogy towards Sucker Punch, that plays in it, because Sucker Punch visually looks stunning. It looks phenomenal, but the writing was not there. The storytelling, the narrative, it was just not there, and I hated it. I hated that movie because of that. But he's done really well on other movies. Like I said, Watchmen was like one of my favorites of his. But now Zack Snyder's Justice League just tops it right there. So let's try to run down everything that happened. Before we do that, can I address that the internet can be very stupid? I know this is no big news or whatever, but I tell you, man, the stupid, like, you can't please anybody. I'll tell you, because here we have a movie that's 4 hours and 2 minutes. And you got people who are complaining about it. The same people who probably watch Lord of the Rings or probably binge watch the entire Lord of the Rings saga. The same group of people who probably binge watch WandaVision or any other, series that's out there right now. But they're complaining about this movie. I guarantee you it's the same people. So, get credit to GameSpot. They decided to help people out to make them understand how long certain chapters are. And you remember, Zack Snyder said that this was going to be in parts. Now, they didn't say whether these parts were going to be a weekly showing or whatever, because that's what I thought it was going to be. No, in fact, what they did was it was a full movie, but they separated in chapters or what they call parts in here. So you have a different chapter or part in here that, goes into different situations. But GameSpot graciously, timed everything as to how long each part or chapter is going to be. Prologue, 9 minutes. Part 1, 28 minutes. What else do we have here? Let me see. It's 28 minutes. Part 2, 32 minutes. Part 3, 42 minutes. Part 4, 30 minutes. Part 5, 32 minutes. Part 6, 41 minutes. Epilogue, 19 minutes. They're all culminating to 4 hours and 20 minutes. So, if that helps you put a perspective on things, that's fine. But I don't understand the complaint. You can't complain about this and then binge watch an entire series. It doesn't make sense. Like you'll binge watch this. I mean, you'll watch this, but then you'll binge watch Titans or you binge watch The Defenders or Luke Cage or Daredevil. God, no, you just can't. It's stupid. It is stupid to argue this. It's stupid to make any sense of this. It just makes no sense. You're just arguing for the sake of arguing. Obviously. So, let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about the high points of the movie. The movie starts off with a prologue showing the death of Superman and his battle with Doomsday Zod. Part 1 mainly covers the Amazon island of Veniscara as they noticed that the Mother Box is acting up, leading to Steppenwolf and the Parademons invading. Now, this is something that you've seen in the first one, but there's some changes to this as well. The box that they were trying to retrieve for Darkseid, basically here. The results of this was met with dozens of Amazonian warriors sacrificing themselves to keep Steppenwolf and the Parademons from taking the Mother Box. That was a really intense scene. Like, I haven't seen anything like that since, you guys may be too young to know this movie, but Shaka Zulu. When somebody in royalty dies, they bury a whole group of tribesmen alive as an honor as an honorable thing for their royalty whenever they die. This kind of reminded me of that for some reason. Unfortunately, it was not enough, as the Queen was still able Steppenwolf got away after that big sacrifice, but yet the Queen still was able to get away with the Mother Box. Meanwhile, Diana is in what I believe is Paris, protecting people from terrorists and beating the living crap of them. Now, we've seen this scene. We saw the scene in the original, but not to this extent. I believe they added some extra footage. This scene right here felt way more violent than the original Joss Whedon version. She looked Wonder Woman in this movie. Gal Gadot in this movie looked better than she did in anything that we've seen prior to. Better than Batman vs Superman, better than her own movies. She never looked more badass. Absolutely awesome. I mean, and by the way, there was a ton. If y'all complained about Man of Steel with the fact that Clark snapped necks, boy, y'all gonna hate this. But the funny thing is, people have such short attention spans. People seldomly forgot about the whole thing about Clark killing people. Well, guess what? They went full on fatality mode in this movie. Diana was just throwing people on walls, kicking them out. Just doing all sorts of these guys were super dead. To coin a phrase of a term that my friend Anthony on the A.C.M.G Facebook group always says, these dudes were super dead. Splattered to the wall dead. And it was just there's no way the way that she was throwing these guys around, these terrorists around, that they were coming back to life. She was on full blown kill mode here to save these kids because they were literally killing people as soon as they got out that van, as soon as they went in. So that was an interesting thing there. I liked also the little really empowerment scene right there where, you know, she's comforting this girl and she's telling this girl, you can be anything you want to be. It was really cute. It was really sweet. After all that, so it was just great. But we also see Bruce attempt to find Arthur, something else that we saw in the original as well, but some extra footage, you know, added to that, which is what, you know, we saw in the original movies there. So that's where it really kind of starts off. I believe we do see a little bit of Silas Stone and Vic as well in here in the beginning. Part 2 shows is the chapter focuses on Aquaman, which also brings back some of the cast from his movie, such as William Dafoe and as Voco and Amber Heard as Mira. So Voco tries to pretty much convince Arthur to take the helm of King, but he refuses to do so. In this movie, we get to see a better look at Steppenwolf and his story, because that was one of the problems I had with the Joss Whedon version, which, by the way, Justice League was the actual first movie that my wife and I went to Movie Tavern in. It was the first time we ever went to Movie Tavern, and that started off a bunch of outings pre-COVID that we had, going to this movie theater and enjoying movies again. I can't wait to do this again. Like, once I get my vaccine, I believe Black Widow's coming out. That is a done deal. That is absolutely a done deal right there. So it's going to be so great to go back out again. But I digress. Steppenwolf in the first movie was not really fleshed out well. And in this version, because it's 4 hours and 2 minutes, everybody was fleshed out better. And I almost feel like that we got to see what he looks like better. Like he had more speaking roles. There was so much more to see with Steppenwolf in this story. And now we find out why he was doing everything he was doing. We knew he was working for Darkseid, but what we didn't know was that he was chastised. He was, banned. He was, banned from ever coming back to Apokolips because he failed him so many times. And now Steppenwolf wanted to regain his honor to Darkseid by retrieving the mother boxes together, because that was the one thing that he needed to destroy Earth and make it his own. What happens is, when you combine these 3 mother boxes together, they create a world based on the person who helms the mother boxes, and it turns into the world, and the people in that world becomes parademons. That is what happens. That's why all those parademons that you see are hordes of people that he has taken from other planets. Really awesome kind of thing to do. I mean, from a storyteller standpoint, it is. I really like that. So that was that. And now, due to some other scenes back then, he's now coming back to try to do what he couldn't do before, but Steppenwolf is trying to be the one to do it. One of the best scenes of this chapter, or part, if you will, is Diana first learning more about what happened here. Because what happens is, her mother, the queen, they had the situation there, and she needed to warn her, so she shot an arrow that reached all the way to Paris, which of course we saw in the original. But what we don't see in the original is Diana researching and learning more about this new threat. She finds this tomb, she takes the arrow opens up this area, this temple area, where it tells her the story of Darkseid and what happened the last time he tried to invade Earth eons ago. And this is the part where she comes and meets up with Bruce to tell her about the legend of Darkseid, who's played by Ray Porter. He did a great job. He did an absolutely great job as Darkseid. He really felt like the Darkseid that I grew up knowing about, the Darkseid that I knew about from back in the day in Saturday morning cartoons and even the recent animated shows and stuff like that. He played up to him really well. So one of the best scenes was showing the flashback of this, and all of just everybody in unity coming together in a battle that was like in-game proportions. You had Greek gods coming to team up with Amazonians, to team up with people from Aquaman's world or Neptune or whatever that said, and they're all teamed together. All these people that normally, all these groups that would normally not team up together have all come together in unity to take out Darkseid. Now, you know what's interesting about this, and I'm going to get real with this one, because this is upon a conversation I had just recently in regards to the unfortunate spa massacre and murders that happened just recently. And this line of hate that we've been having for quite a while now is being migrated to the Asian community, and my thoughts and hearts go out to all of those families and friends who has suffered through that. It just didn't have to be. It just did not have to be. But we say that for the Black community, and we say that for the Jewish community, and we say that for the LGBTQ community all the time. It just didn't have to happen. You know what also should happen? Is that we all need to work together. Every one of us, from culture to subculture or whatever, need to team up together to fight hate. And that's what we saw in this scene right here, is that we had all these different cultures teaming up together to stop hate. Take a lesson from this movie. This is exactly what we need to do, and go back to Endgame, because that's exactly what happened there. You had sorcerers teaming up with, Wakandans. You had, people from other planets teaming up to come and get Thanos. Look what we did for the election. That's what we need to do. We all need to team up and see the bigger picture and become something more than what we are. And that is a community, and a united community. So, take it from this. This exactly, because what Darkseid and his minions were doing was capitalizing on the division of what's going on in the country. And because everybody's divided, they don't have enough power to fight against them. Only they win when we're divided. How hard is that not to understand, people? So, seriously, we need to do better. And to do better, we need to team up against hate. All types of hate in general. Just take that there, but I digress. In this flashback, we see hundreds of warriors all teaming up to take Darkseid forces, including the Lantern Corps as well. I didn't mention that as well. The Lantern Corps was in there full force, some of which I believe I recognize in there as well. So this was such a great deal, and this wasn't in the original, of course. This was one of the awesome things. We got to see Darkseid in battle. We got the Darkseid be Darkseid in battle against all these hordes of people. Of course, he did not win because the forces were too big. And that's why we're in this situation now. I like how they explained how the mother boxes happen. Everything just made sense there as well. I just love it. I also like they explained, how, with the unity, everybody comes together and, they conquer the world. They will be able to, they will keep from conquering the world, I should say. Part two was very important. Part two was very relevant and very important. It was fantasy based on reality. Take it for what you will. It was absolutely that. Part three in this chapter, we get to see Flash and Iris in the scene that everybody was talking about, the scene that Joss Whedon cut out from his version. This was one of the first things that really kind to vilified Joss Whedon, in my opinion. This scene was so great. This scene, you watched this scene and you wondered why in the hell did he take that out? This was so pivotal to his character development. Because if you look at the original, and at this point, I can't watch the original. I cannot even recognize it. And I'm a fan of Joss Whedon's work. If not for Joss Whedon was he created the template, the formula to bring a bunch of people together and give enough airtime for each of them to be able to have prominent, appearances and importance in a film. It's hard to be able to, juggle around a bunch of people and make sure that everybody gets, a lot of airtime and character development. He was one of the first ones to really do that in this format, in this genre. And now you got a bunch of other people who are able to see that template and formula and work off of that as well. So it's a shame of all the things that we're hearing about him now, but this doesn't help his case because this scene was fantastic. And I love that he was in the pet store and he was trying to get a job. He was late as always, total Barry. But Iris, he bumps into Iris, who, by the way, let me get the name of the Iris of this version here because she played in the movie Dope, if I remember correctly. And Iris West, do we have her name? It was the only time I've ever seen her before. Iris West. Let me see if I can conjure this up. Iris. There we go. Kesley Clemens. Yeah, she played on a movie Dope. I don't believe I've seen her in anything else than that. But she was tremendous. She embodied Iris. She didn't really say too much. She just gave Barry that stare. They connected. She was in a car. She was still staring at Barry as she was driving off while he was in the store trying to explain why he was late. And then lo and behold, a truck is coming because a guy is not paying attention because he dropped his sandwich. And for some reason, a man driving a truck decides to keep his eyes off the road just to get this sandwich. You're in a multi-ton truck that can destroy other cars and other people with ease. Why would you think that you could do that? And lo and behold, he crashed into Iris's car. But because Barry was there, he was able to speed his way out. It had this really cool scene where Barry, we've seen this before with X-Men, but this was done very beautifully. He destroyed his sneaks doing this. He destroyed the window to save Iris. He laid her down. He managed to save her, laid her down. His music was playing. It was beautiful. We've seen this before with Quicksilver, but it was just done in Matthew Vaughn did it really well, but with that scene. But now Zack Snyder did his version of it. It was just really well done. And we come back and he got a hot dog in between all this to feed to the dog so he could get this job. It was really funny. It was really, really cool. He got back and she's just wondering what's going on. And he's with the dogs and the dogs is, keeping calm with him because he's feeding them during situations like this. It's just crazy. Ursa Miller did such a great job. And I think this scene helped him establish himself as this universe's Barry. But what also people need to give credit for is the fact that Ursa Miller was also helped by the fact that he was in Crisis on Infinite Earth as he met Grant Gustafson, who plays Barry Allen on the Arrowverse. And I think that helped people along with that because now it recognizes that these two exist among the multiverse. So it helped. If they did not do that, it probably would have been still hard debate to really respect both, the Justice League and the DC film universe to that of the Arrowverse. But now that they did that, they totally recognize that they do exist, but they exist in their own universes. But at this one point, we had this opportunity to see the movie version of The Flash meet Barry Allen's, the Arrowverse version of The Flash. And then not only that, for the Arrowverse Barry to give Ursa Miller the name of The Flash because he was not known as The Flash in there. So great moment. If you have not watched Crisis on Infinite Earth, you need to go out of your way to watch that series. That was so awesome what they did with that and culminated to some epic stuff. And the biggest surprise of that entire series was seeing Ursa Miller make an appearance in there as the Flash that you see in this movie. So loved it. We also see Lois Lane still hurt by the loss of Superman in here. Bruce and Diana looks at possible recruits, including Cyborg, who in this movie we see the entire origin story, which we did not see in the original. So that was cut out. And I now understand why Ray Fisher was so upset, because Ray Fisher was the MVP. I would say the MVP of this movie was Ray Fisher and Gal Gadot. He was so polarizing to see. I mean, his voice carried over really well. He felt like Cyborg. He felt like and by the way, he never said booyah the entire time. And I'll probably say that to a kid too. But I totally understand what he was, why he was so against the actions of Joss Whedon here. I don't get it. I just don't. A really cool scene where Victor is at the dean's office. because he hacked into the system to alter his friend's grades due to her struggles. You know, her family was having financial struggle. We never see the girl, but it's believed that she could be black. And it's believed that based on the conversation that his mother and the dean had, that, you know, he wasn't trying to help her out the way that Vic was helping her. Now, granted, Vic was hacking into the system, so we know that's wrong. But with the way that Vic's mom was explaining it kind of justified him and really vilified the dean, because the mom supported Vic and his actions, but also asked the dean as to what he was doing to help her while she was struggling with financials and all that stuff. And the dean's face, like, he just turned away and looked really like guilty about not doing anything to help her so she can excel better without Vic having to do it. Because so it's just one of those situations that we have in our society, and I'm glad that they addressed that. They addressed a lot of that. There were some absolutely great scenes with Vic. We see him playing football, and where he was dominated, where he dominated the field. Like, his storyline is exactly what you saw in the comics. It is exactly the situation. If you watch any animated series or read the comic books or anything that involves Cyborg, except for Teen Titans Go, because they don't really play on that, but you know that they really focus on the fact that his father was not there. His father was only about science. He didn't want him to be about the football thing. So he just wasn't interested, even though he cared about him. He never showed how much he cared. So as he's dominating the field and became the MVP of the game, he sees his mom cheering hard for him, but he also sees an empty seat that was supposed to be Silas there. And it really upset him from that point. So we see them driving home, and she's trying to console him. Also, not looking at the road, I might ask, and trying to console him. This leads to a tragic accident that led Victor and his mom tragically in a bad place. Unfortunately, mom didn't make it, but we also know that Vic has been dismembered. I've never seen an accident like this where it dismembers somebody in a car, for that matter. His whole body was dismembered. And this is when Silas was determined to, you know, let his son live. And he used a mother box, which, by the way, he never... He was desperate. He never studied this box. He never did research on the box to see if this was a good idea or not. He used his instinct to see this through, but to what extent he did not know how this was going to come out. So that was a great moment there. And when I say they fleshed out his origin story, they fleshed out his origin story. We see bits and pieces throughout this entire movie. Another fantastic and heartfelt scene that we see Vic do is monitoring. He's the world's greatest computer, pretty much. And he has the ability to compromise anybody's system, whether good or bad. But in this scene, he comes across this woman who's a single mom, who's barely trying to, who barely can afford to feed her kids, barely afford to live. She gets evicted from her home. Really sad. It's very heartfelt. He took it upon himself to find the bank that she's associated with. Only had but $11 and some change. He took it upon himself. And I like how when he enters his own mainframe, he sees himself as his human version of himself in the mainframe. And he goes into this bank where she's at, sees the $11 and some cents there. He's puts his hand together on it and raises it up to give her way more money. She ends up with over $100,000. She goes into the ATM with her two kids just sitting there, and he hacks the system to make it seem like she won a grand prize from the bank, and her account has been replenished with over $100,000. And the look on her face and the reaction from her was just so felt, because a lot of people can relate to that situation, especially today. It was so great. It just made Cyborg probably one of the favorite characters of this entire movie from here. Just fantastic. I want to also note that Jeremy Irons also gets a lot of airtime in this movie as well. I mean, Jeremy Irons was just tremendous in this as well as Alfred. Just, I really enjoy this. Just everybody's just getting 4 hours and 2 minutes. You better get some damn say here. So I just really enjoyed what happened there, and they did him justice in here. Alfred really was a great factor in this movie as well. Did I also mention that this is a really totally rated R movie here, because there was a lot of F-bombs in here that I didn't hear in the old version. So this was The Watchmen in a sense. Just a lot of things that was like, oh, this is, if y'all want your kids to see Justice League, you go see Joss Whedon's version, because that's like the church version. Totally edited. It's safe to watch. But also, you know, let them see this version when they get older. We also have to note that working with Silas Stone is Ryan Cho, played by Ryan Zinn. How easy was that? He got a gig where he get to be called his own name. But if you know who Ryan Cho is in the comics, he is Captain Atom, which was a character that was not in the original movie. So now we're establishing new characters in this movie, period. Like you can't do this and not say that there's not going to be a sequel. There's definitely going to be a sequel. We're already setting up seeds for things to come. So Ryan Cho is now in here as well, and he's setting up for a bigger role, seems like. We also see J.K. Simmons, everybody's favorite J. Jonah Jameson, back as Commissioner Gordon, along with Corin Holbrook Smith, who we see in Doctor Strange. He was in one scene on Doctor Strange, but looks like they're going to be in the Batman series as well, if that comes out. And hopefully Ben Affleck stays on for that, because the results of this movie and what people thought about this movie is overwhelmingly successful. So hopefully this keeps them on there to do that, because I would love to see that Batman movie where Deathstroke was supposed to be a part of it and Joe Manganiello was supposed to be a part of it. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a thing. In this chapter, also, we see Mera holding her own as well against Steppenwolf, which leads to an encounter with Aquaman, because Aquaman finally decided to take the helm and take the trident that Voko was trying to give to him anyway. So now we go to part 4, which mostly covers the sewer battle scene with the Justice League trying to save all of the scientists, including Silas, that the Parademons was trying to take, because some of the scientists have been in an encounter with a mother box, so they're trying to figure out where that other mother box is. The mother box that is hidden in Cyborg's actual apartment. So they haven't spotted it yet. However, there has been a change in this scene. We see a lot more Flash in the scene, and Flash, if you remember the original, Flash came off a little bit scared to enter this and do this. And there was a scene where I believe he remember asking them, like, what can I do? What can I do? And they totally cut that scene out. So now Flash looks a little bit more like he's down with, trying to be a part of this and not being hesitant as he did in the Joss Whedon version. So I'm glad they cut that out, because I was not a fan of him being kind of afraid to be a part of this and do this, even though he agreed to be a part of this. So that was one of the changes, but this whole thing was stretched out with a lot of additional footage showing once again how badass Wonder Woman is. Okay, because she fought Steppenwolf. Like, it was such a great battle. I love what they did with this. Flash and Batman also gets more battle points, showing off what they can do against the Parademons. By the way, Batman also using guns to kill. So, if you're going to complain about something, you got to complain about that. If you're going to complain about Superman snapping heads. But guess what? There's proof in the comics that they both have had their fair share of bodies. It's not the first time. So, Flash and Batman are more into this. You got, I didn't even mention that in the past chapter, but we got a chance to see Desaad, which is like Darkseid's right-hand man. We've seen him in the comics. We've seen him in animated series and Saturday morning cartoons. Like, it was really cool to see him in here, because obviously he was not in the original. Like, the way Joss Whedon did the original, it was supposed to he did the Avengers formula. He was going to do the tease leading up to Darkseid, which was probably going to be like 2 or 3, like movies from now, which was the same thing that they did with Thanos, which was fine, which was awesome. Actually, I wouldn't even say it was fine. It was actually awesome that they did it that way, because that was the first time it was done. He was trying to recreate the will, I guess, from this, and doing the exact same things that he did, that made Avengers so spectacular with Justice League, and it didn't work. People wanted to see a different feel. We didn't want to give the Marvel Cinematic Universe feel. We wanted something different, and Zack Snyder gave it to us. But in doing so, we got to see a lot more from here as well. So Desaad in here as well. We see another familiar subordinate with Darkseid later on in the movie. So we'll talk about that in due time. But it was great to see him there. And I just, if you're a DC fan, you got to be happy. So I've watched Darkseid and his crew since like the days of Channels of the Super Friends, and it's just so great to see him in this platform. By the way, I love seeing Cyborg in the Mother Box situation, because once again, that was just another situation that was in the comics. He is a part of the Motherboard. His whole existence is that of Apocalypse and their technology. So it's just really great. This is the scene also where they decide to retrieve Superman, because they figure out by using the Mother Box, the Mother Box's technology or advanced technology allows to recreate, what is the term? There's a term for that, but it basically allows you to recreate or destroy. And they figured out that they could use the Mother Box to revive Superman from this point. So we then go to a mind-blowing scene. Oh yes, this scene. Okay, this scene was this was the scene that when I first watched this the first time, I screamed, because I did not see this coming, even though this was rumored and talked about multiple times. I went insane. Here we have a scene from the original that has Lois visiting Martha. What we didn't know is that there's a major twist to this. Turns out Lois is not talking to Martha, or Martha's not talking. Wait, what is it? Right. Turns out that Lois was not talking to Martha because Martha was trying to encourage her to get back to work, regardless of the loss of her son, quote unquote, that she needs to get back into the swing of things. The world needs Lois. And this world needs Lois thing becomes apparent as you go along. But found out Lois wasn't talking to Martha. The minute that Martha left, I started glowing. Then transforms into, of all people, John Jones, not MMA athlete John Jones. I am talking the Martian Manhunter, who was never seen in the first flick. Not only that, turns out, which a lot of people were suspecting, there are people on the internet who actually get it right every once in a while. Turns out he's been around for a long time, dating back to Man of Steel, as one of his forms is that of General Swanwick, played by Harry Lennox. Done. I'm so done. I screamed when I saw that. And he looks awesome. I love the CGI of him. Granted, no disrespect to the Arrowverse version of John, but man, there was so much detail in this version. Beautiful. I love the line work. I love the detail, the textures and everything of this one. And I love the suit. The suit was so great too. I mean, they just went above and beyond here. But it was a great surprise that, DC fans and comic book fans were rewarded with. Just great. And Harry Lennox's voice is just made for this role. It's made for him. I absolutely enjoy it. Then we go to part 5. While they are retrieving the body of Clark, we get a moment that, again, another additional footage, some more additional footage here. We get a moment with Arthur and Diana, who talks about their culture clashing together because of their history. This reminds me of Flashpoint, actually, because that was a situation where they kind of teamed up, but then they actually became lovers, but also they were enemies prior to that. So that was a little bit of reminded me of that, and somewhat of Injustice as well, too. Meanwhile, while they're talking, Cyborg and Flash are digging the graves of Clark as Barry asks Victor whether Diana would go for younger guys. To which Victor says, she's 5,000 years old. Every guy is a younger guy. I thought that was a really, really fun little... It's probably one of the only comedic moments that they actually had, aside from the infamous Flash and, Super, Justice League versus Superman battle when they revive him. But I thought that was cute. We also get more added footage of the League going into Star Labs to bring back Superman, which leads to Cyborg hacking the system to infiltrate Superman's ship. The same ship that Lex Luthor used in Batman vs. Superman to revive Zod, which became Doomsday Zod. Take note. They needed the mother box to do that, but they also needed more electricity to do that as well, more power. Silas is skeptical right off the bat that this was a false alarm until he discovers that it's his son. So he was like, nope, it's not a false alarm. Stay out. Everybody get the hell out. For those who remember the version of the film, the first version of the film, Flash needed to run fast enough to generate enough power to revive Clark. This also means that he's going into time, entering the Speed Force to do so. This, I believe, in my mind, could very well be the moment where Barry and the two Barrys met. It could be, because somewhere along the lines, that's where those two have gotten together in there, or it's going to come up possibly during the movie or whatnot as to when he did this. But at any time, he could have run the Speed Force and done some really crazy things to that nature. While this is happening, Cyborg gets visions of what could happen if Darkseid retrieves all three boxes, resulting in Wonder Woman dying and the destruction of all worlds. We also see Superman holding what could be Lois Lane's burnt up body as he is in distraught while Darkseid embraces him. We then see Clark hover down holding Batman's cowl as the camera pans out. And we see a dead Lantern Corps member. Not just anyone. We see Kilowog. Okay, this is leading into some things here. These visions can also be traced back to Batman vs. Superman, where Bruce saw Flash in a dream sequence where Flash warns Bruce to save Lois, as she is the key to all this. And, at the time when I watched that, I didn't really put two and two together, and it is all coming together really, really smoothly here, because if any of you guys played it Injustice, you know the basic storyline of that game. Just hold on to that theory right there. We should note Henry Cavill's infamous mustache gate is no longer. That scene got completely wiped out. No need. And they did a bunch of new footage for it as well. So we got to see Henry Cavill with his shaved head, with the shaved, face and everything the way it should have been. That's all gone. Nobody talked about that at all. This chapter also sees the end of Silas Stone as once again actor Joe Morton does what he does best in sci-fi films, and that is just die by the push of a button. It's not just that he dies always from some type of explosion. I swear to goodness, it's just like a running gag at this point. It's like it never fails. If you watch his legendary performance in Terminator 2, he died virtually the same way, blowing his ass up in a lab. It never fails. I almost think that it was like a take on that. It was a little rub for those who know him for these damn roles. Seriously, like I think it's between him or Michelle Rodriguez that we're actually they're almost being tied together. Somebody's getting a world's record here. So then we go to part 6. The climax of this director's cut gives us a much different ending than Joss Whedon's version. Not to mention a much better one that reveals so much more coming to the DCU. Bruce and Diana discuss a premonition that he had regarding Flash and Lois. that we just talked about. This is leading into some deep, dark waters that is very familiar for comic book fans as well as video game fans here. Part 6 should be the scene where the League faces off against Steppenwolf, and just that it just ends it off there. However, that has been completely altered thanks to Zack Snyder, and again, for the better. We see We see Clark enter his ship as he's choosing to pick suits. He has a variety of different suits for every occasion, just like he does in the Superman animated series as well. One of which is the original suit, but he doesn't pick that suit. He chooses the black suit. Comic fans recognize this suit because he wore this when becoming Darkseid's second in command in an alternate universe or in another storyline. But I definitely on Justice League Unlimited, he's in there doing that, or the first Justice League before Justice League Unlimited. They cover that storyline as well, but that's also in the comics as well. So you know that this is where they're going with this. There is a scene where they play off Whedon's infamous Avengers slow motion charge pose seen in Age of Ultron. I don't know if people caught that scene. I don't know if people really thought about that scene, but it's exactly the same thing that they did in that scene. I don't know if that was a dig. I don't know what that was. It could have been a dig. It could have been. Now, I think it was more of a dig because even Zack Snyder was kind of pissed off about what Joss Whedon did, along with everybody else. So I don't know. That could have been a dig. I don't know until he gets interviewed, unless somebody mentions that. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that, but that was not there just for the sake of being there. That was there for I think for a reason. The final battle was levels above the Whedon version by far. Barry runs to generate enough energy to take out the mother boxes. However, he gets injured along the way, and I love this because twice in this movie he gets injured, but he has they recognize his ability to heal fast enough. However, during Barry's run, Superman comes to join the group finally, and he is easily dominating Steppenwolf along with the rest of the League. The awesome part about this is that they show Barry trying to heal fast, but it's a little bit too late. It's not happening. So take note that, again, Superman and Batman are killing everybody here. I mean, yeah, they're not human, but they're still living beings, damn it. It still counts. Fans was also rewarded with Barry entering the Speed Force in full effect because he didn't manage to do it on time. So what he did, he went the Superman route. He went the Richard Donner route. He reversed everything. He went back in time just a few minutes later. There's like a minute or two before it was too late. And in order to merge with the mother boxes. And unfortunately, he made it. I should say fortunately, because unfortunately he didn't make it the first time. But when he went into the Speed Force to go back in time just a few minutes later, before, he managed to do it. Then comes one of the best parts of this chapter as the portal opens and we see Darkseid along with Desaad, not in the molted form that he was in. We see the real Desaad, and we also see Granny Goodness. Those three are the equivalent of Thanos in the Dark Order or the Black Order. And man, it was awesome to see. Like, Granny Goodness is a computer generated CGI version of her because she's this Granny Goodness is not like a short, like over obese version that we normally see in the comics. No, she was taller than Desaad. She looked totally badass in here. So we get a glimpse of Granny Goodness in here, and fans were rewarded to seeing Barry enter the Speed Force this way, reversing the merging of the mother boxes. Barry managed to reach Victor as he travels within himself and sees both him and the human side, along with the father and mother, who manipulates him to try to not proceed with the plans. Thankfully, Victor was not falling for it. He managed to get through it. Meanwhile, Steppenwolf met his end in a very different way than he did in the original. Because, Aquaman stabbed him with the trident. Clark knocked him silly and, knocked him into the portal. But before that, Diana sliced his head off. So there was some fatality. There was a trifecta fatality going on here. So we see his body land right into the portal, into the apocalypse, and his head land right near Darkseid, where Darkseid just crushed Steppenwolf's head. Darkseid looks at the League in anger, and the portal closes. Lovely. And you think that it was going to end there. Nope. There is the epilogue. This is when things get deep. Cyborg dematerializes the tape recorder that he crushed when he was angry with his father, so he could listen to the remaining message that was left by Silas, who now tells him that, regardless of everything that he did, he was wrong for what he did. But he truly loved him. Period. And it was really cool. It's really cool that he was able to do that, because I can't imagine not everybody's able to dematerialize a damn tape recorder the way he did. You can reverse things. That's awesome. Aquaman goes to see his father on the surface, see his father and who's in jail, and tells him that he's now, working with crime investigations, and now he'll be able to pursue even further to prove his innocence there. So which we kind of saw in the original movie. They did leave that part in. Aquaman goes to see his father on the surface, which means he will eventually be back with them. Ryan Cho is now the head of Star Labs, which leads us to believe that he will be Adam very soon. When we see Bruce, Diana, and Alfred, they're checking out this new hall that he brought, and which is no doubt will be the Hall of Justice coming in the next movies. We also get to see what else do we see here? Victor visits his parents' grave and then flies away from there. Now, what also was cut out in this scene was Victor reforming his body, because he in the original, he reforms his body into the cyborg form that we wanted to see. That, like, the better. I was hoping that we get to see that. They didn't do that for some reason. It looks like they may be keeping his form the way it is. I would like to see him alter that form in some form or fashion. I really hope they do. We also see Commissioner Gordon throw up the bat signal, and Batman stands on a tank. He now has a tank, people. So let's see where that goes. Diana is seen at the temple holding onto the arrow that her mother used to warn her. Now, it's not clear as to whether Veniscara is destroyed thanks to Steppenwolf, because I think he lied to Diana, saying that he killed everybody, but he really didn't. I don't believe he did. He didn't go back there. When she threw that arrow, it was right after the events of that. So I don't know where they're going with that. Maybe they'll mention that again sometime. We also see the end credit, which we saw from the original, which was like an end credit scene before, but it's now part of the epilogue. Where Lex escapes from Arkham, where he was before. And he is now on a yacht where he meets up with Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello, which was supposed to be some of the seeds being planted for the Batman movie and the next Justice League movie as well, where I guess the Legion of Doom is coming and forming. But while we're doing that, by the time it got to this part, I'm commenting on the A.C.M.G. Facebook group. Where is that scene where the Joker is at? Was this all a ruse to, make it seem like he's coming in? And I spoke too soon, because while we saw that before, there was some added footage here. And connected to this was we now see an apocalyptic future that shows parademons everywhere in this dried land, which could be Gotham, it could be Metropolis, who knows? We then see Batman, coming out of hiding and appearing in the trench coat and machine gun, hiding alongside Cyborg, Flash, Deathstroke, and Mirror. Like, how did all these guys come together? Who wants revenge against Mirror wants revenge for them killing Aquaman. Also with them is, in fact, the Joker, played once again by Jared Leto, who apparently they are teaming up with, not willingly, of course. Let's talk about this for 1 second. Jared Leto played the Joker, what was almost unanimously considered the worst Joker portrayal played in movies. In an original Suicide Squad movie. I think we might have to rethink that now, because this Joker in this scene, played by the same actor, was much better in these few moments than he was in the Suicide Squad movie. His chemistry between him and Bruce was every bit as intense as what we wanted to see. And seeing those two together for the first time was awesome. And I love this scene. Joker reveals that he killed Robin, while Bruce reveals that he killed Harley Quinn. Not only that, we get to hear Bruce like totally F-bomb this dude. He was like, he promises that once this truce is over, he's gonna effing kill him. Cyborg is with him, and he detects that the person they are hiding from and fearing the most has found them. Lo and behold, of all people, it is Clark. Ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, we have injustice. So it's rather we have injustice, or we got the story saga that involves him teaming up with Darkseid, which I think that's what he's going to, but this is pretty much an injustice thing. But then we also learn that this is another one of those dreams and premonitions that Bruce has. He wakes up in his retreat or his house or whatever, only to hear someone coming to his house. Turns out it is Martian Manhunter, who tells him that the anti-life equation is somewhat is somewhere in the world, and Darkseid is going to come back to find it, which Darkseid does say that he's going to have to go through old school ways in order to do so. He offers to join the team and say that he will keep in touch, and just a great scene. Just an absolute great scene. The movie is dedicated to his child Autumn, of course, as I mentioned, and that's how the movie ends. What else can I say? I watched this twice, both times. It was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal both times. If you need a reason to, if you haven't gotten or invested in subscribing to HBO Max and need a reason to do so, my friends, this is the reason to do so. You got to see this. And I also mention, I didn't mention this before, and I honestly, it's not a big deal, but Zack Snyder's vision, for some reason, was to make this movie, this entire movie, in 4:3 aspect ratio. While that is significantly different, and you have a 16:9 aspect ratio screen that you're watching it on, you soon get so immersed in this movie that you don't even talk about it. That's not a big focus. It didn't take away from anything. I watched this twice and enjoyed it just as much. I looked at the A.C.M.G Facebook group. Only one person tried to make a big deal out of it. Everybody else, nobody made a big deal out of this. It didn't hurt it. It didn't do anything for it. I've also seen him on other posts try to warn other people. It's in 4:3 ratio. You got to look out. Here's the part where it doesn't matter. For some reason, Zack Snyder wanted to do this. It didn't take away from it. As to why he did it, I don't know. At this point, I don't care. The storytelling, the character development, the action, the visuals, it was all awesome. So as you're looking at this, you do not care or forget that it's in 4:3 aspect ratio. And they tell you at the beginning that this is the way Zack Snyder wanted to do it, so it will be in 4:3 ratio. Will he do it in 16:9? Who knows? I don't care. What I care is that I got the best DC film ever made in any generation. You can't, I love Richard Donner's version. I love Supergirl. No, this right here. And there has been some good DC films. Wonder Woman. Some people think Shazam was good. It was okay. What else? Wonder Woman 2 was okay. Suicide Squad wasn't the best, but there were some. Aquaman was really good. I like that. None of them is topping this. This is a set standard for the DC universe. This totally gave him legs to stand on. This literally saved the DC universe. Zack Snyder deserves a lot of credit. His wife deserves a lot of credit. Everybody involved deserves a lot of credit. The cast deserves a lot of credit for coming back on to do this, to give it what it deserved and what we deserve to see. let this be the start of something really great, man. I tell you, it's just absolutely awesome. So go out of your way, check it out. It's awesome. And guess what? This is just not the only movie that we're going to see, because next month is going to be Mortal Kombat. And at the end of this month is going to be Godzilla versus Kong, or Kong versus Godzilla. I'm looking forward to all of that. Matrix is coming out later on this summer. Like, DC is going to be, I'd say too, DC, it's not DC, HBO Max is going to be changing their tier system too, for those who don't want to see the movies, but go out of your way to see all the movies. It's worth it. You don't have to go outside. You don't have to go out into COVID, if you're not vaccinated or anything. You can enjoy it. You can order out. You do all types of things. Go out of your way to see this movie. It is so freaking worth it. And all the movies that they had so far, even Tom and Jerry was really good. So, yeah, go out of your way to check it out. Folks, that will do it for the comeback edition of Talk Time Live. Thank you guys so very much. Like I said, this is going to be a crazy few months with myself and Repop, and then some of the guests that will be on this show. So I got a lot of work to do. Trust me. But thank you all for listening to this. Thank you all for staying and supporting this. It feels like so long ago since I actually did a show, because it's just been a week. I only do 2 shows, but it feels like forever because I didn't do a Select Start show. I didn't do a Talk Time Live last week because I got a new computer. I had to put the other one to rest. And, it feels great to be back. Feels great to be back. And then it's going to be even more great. It's going to feel better, I should say, to be able to do these new panels for Repop and stuff like that. So people, stick to it. I'll let you know everything as time goes by. But for now, if you want to learn what's coming up next, don't want to miss a beat, check out TalkTimeLive.com. This episode, all of our episodes, and exclusive interviews will be easy to find there. If you don't want to miss a beat, subscribe and download to many of our podcast platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, TuneIn, Audible, and what else? Pandora and Pocket Cast as well, amongst others. So those are the ones I know that I've applied for, and it's in there. So I do believe there are other ones. So everybody from the United States to around the world, everywhere, thank you so much for listening to this show again. And let's keep it going and keep it growing always. So that'll do it for me. On behalf of myself, this is Dak Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. Take care. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.